and saying to myself, I am happy, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am worthy. I just got to figure out what I'm doing to interfere with it.
Welcome, David, to Pivot Me today. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you for having me. I think it's really important to understand the trajectory where people want to be or think they want to be or better. And what better way in the analysis of seeing, according to our values, how to get to where we want to be or better. And that's what I see in the Pivot Me community.
Absolutely. So, David, we were talking a little bit offline about, people that are listening. They've got this measure of success. They've done a lot of the right things, but oftentimes it's just us that's getting in our own way. We're really good about saying, hey, the chokehold of my business is me. I'm my problem. I'm also my solution. And I just look at your story and I see how you are a man who profoundly pivoted. You're a man who figured out a way to get out of his own way. Can you talk a little bit about the pivots that you've gone through and how you sort of beat back self-sabotage as well?
Sure, I went through three major pivots or expansions in my life. I love to think of it as an expansion. Too many people want to transition into something new, and I'm continually looking at my skills, my knowledge, and my desire and applying them to something new, which can be conceived as a pivot or an expansion. But I started in a world of not enough. I had a single mom with 6 kids, saw myself as a victim, limited myself by my own self-image. My worthiness was determined upon my bank account, and my identity also attached to that bank account as well. And so I had to pivot from childhood genetic inheritances, childhood energetic inheritance, and my bags of beliefs, which, by the way, that's all we truly are, is a big bag of beliefs that determines what we're going to do, say, think, and feel. And so when I started to look at this first pivot, I had to pivot from the world of not enough into a world of for me instead of to me, for me, just enough for me. And still, what I found as I stayed there, and I became a millionaire 9 months out of law school, and transitioned or pivoted very quickly into the world of just enough, finally buying my mom the house and a car I always dreamed of, finally being able to have some stability and security in my life, which I had never had before. And to me, it was interesting because I always thought when I pivoted to the world of more than enough, to just enough, that I would have more than enough, that I would, be able to retire and be able to do all these things as I became a multimillionaire. And I realized that it wasn't the pivot from selling legal research online and making my first million, exiting for 3.4 billion in 95, moving to CEO of Samsung at 99, and then going to be the CEO of Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment in a wholly different field. And a lot of people see those as pivots. They were just a different application of my skills, my knowledge, and my desire. The real pivot was yet to come. And for me, it was, how can I get out of this world of zero sum, needing more happiness, more health, more wealth, more worthiness? How can I get out of this world? Because I realized I could never overachieve my own self-image, and my self-image was limited in a zero-sum game that I even gave to receive. I traded, negotiated, transacted everything, relationships, money, and I had to lose everything. I had to, as I was running the most notable sports agency in the world, worth over $100 million, that the lesson lied in restarting financially, of losing everything, over $100 million, almost losing my wife, almost losing my family, almost losing my life. But I got to pivot into a world that I live now for the last 17 years of more than enough, a value add world where I receive more so I can give more. I don't give to receive. And I teach people how to receive as well as give. I teach people how to not only to make a lot of money, but to help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. And to that end, at a break here, I learned a very valuable lesson on how to stop limiting myself and feeling not worthy and punishing myself and trading and negotiating everything in the world to set a thermostat that I now have broken through, where not only I make more money than I ever dreamed of and live in a world of more than enough, but I'm on a mission to empower over 1 billion people to do the same thing, to live in abundance.
It's amazing. That's amazing. And I love your mission. David, when I'm thinking about you making, whether it's a pivot, I know you've referred to it as an inflection point as well. I love that you brought up identity, because what I have found is in moments like this, it's not necessarily translating the skill set or even navigating a bankruptcy or a divorce or how to get over this hurdle. It's the switch of identity that hurts us most. And both, it's first there has to come awareness, second comes choice. It's even being aware that, oh, the what my identity is tied up in is the wrong thing. Was there this moment for you that you're like, oh, my identity's in the wrong place? Or did you even know it was an identity shift that you needed to go through?
I realized far later in life that what it was. I was
Mhm.
searching. I was trying always to find the passion, the purpose, as well as the profitability and everything. You have so many people out there. I just don't know my why. I remember when I built my dream house, married to my dream wife, with my dream children, thinking how empty and unhappy I was. And I called that the glamorized stuck. The glamorized stuck is worse than just being stuck. It's literally living a life that everybody wants. I'm running the most notable
Mhm.
sports agency worth over $100 million, married my dream girl from the fourth grade, have 3 beautiful children, my health. And it was a glamorized stuck where people
Mhm.
like, oh, I wish I had your life. I wish I was you. And all I'm thinking is, oh, I wouldn't curse you with that. And I had to
Yeah.
learn that it was because my identity was tied to my bank account, that I believe money bought happiness and love, and there was never going to be enough money to make me happy. And when I realized that instead of trying to continue to live in the world of just enough, trying to get more all the time, buying more to impress more people, buying different things to impress people I didn't even like, what
Mhm.
if I shifted my paradigm with something I thought, never did I think I would shift my paradigm to faith, but not a religious faith, not a spiritual faith, not a philosophical faith or a theoretical faith. I call it a best option faith. And the reason I call it a best option faith is that I decided that everyone has their own opinion about what their source of faith is. Their source of faith should be something that is omniscient, all knowing, all powerful. It is an infinite, abundant system, unified of thought, where everybody wins, a value add source of faith. And I started realizing, hey, why don't I just believe in that? Regardless of
Mhm.
religion, spirituality, regardless of philosophies and theories, why not just challenge people, which I'll do today? Give me something better to believe in. You can name what I just named, whatever you want: God, Jesus,
Sure.
Muhammad, Joseph Smith, Buddha. I don't care what you name it. But most people on earth, they don't even realize the power they have if they have a source of faith that is omniscient, all powerful, all knowing, and loves you more than your mom. And
Mhm.
so when I made that paradigm shift of living in abundance and saying to myself, I am happy. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am worthy. I just got to figure out what I'm doing to interfere with it. That was
Mhm.
the key to getting out of my way. Is that instead of getting more, if I just identified fear, fear of the past and fear of the future, raise my awareness to the ego based consciousness that I prescribe to the fear, like
Mhm.
a need to be right, a need to be offended, two of my worst ego based consciousness, a need to be
Mhm.
separate, a need to be inferior, superior, angry, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful. Do you know how much time, emotion, value, relationships, and money I wasted with a need to be interfering with my potential, a
Mm.
need to limit myself, to identify with the limited instead of identified with the limitless? And so, what I train people to do, and what I inspire, hopefully, people to look at is stop looking for what you want and figure out what you're doing to interfere with it, which to me
Mhm.
is the definition of getting out of your own way.
So, David, if you imagine, if I love this, thank you. If you imagine going back to the version of you right before, we'll say David right before the fall, and if you could go back, you get in your DeLorean and you go back, hopefully that references Cat. We see some Back to the Future fans out there. You go back in and you sit down with that version of David, this younger version of David. What are you going to say? Like, what are you going to say to him that will get through to him the lesson he needs to hear? Because that version of David isn't prepared for what you just said now. So, for someone who's listening who might be on the same path, what words would you say to them?
What a fantastic question. Um, Rarely have I heard a question like that with the story and the amount of content that I put out. So I love the question because I ask questions. And what I would say to myself before that fall was, hey, ask for help.
Mm,
Ask for help. Live in radical humility. You don't know what you don't know.
yep.
And so find people who know about finance, who know about real estate, who know about condo conversions and golf courses and ski mountains, who know about abundance, who know about spirituality and philosophy and theory. Find people who know about sleep and ask them for help, David. Just ask them. Find people who sit in a situation you want to be in and ask them for directions. You don't
Mhm.
have to figure it. You've been figuring it out long enough. You've been either lucky or extremely successful or consistent or persistent. You've done very well.
Mhm.
Now it's
Mhm.
time to ask for help. And I think I would have had a shot with that one piece of advice without resistance when I could have made it relative to the success and the potential that I had in my 30s as I was running that unbelievable sports agency with Lee Steinberg. I think I would have listened because those people were all around me wanting to help me. And I talk about two types of people in the world: ignorant people and ignorant people. You know, in social media, and I'm blessed to have a huge following now, which I never imagined, that I have more than my 4 kids. But more importantly, I talk about the ignorant, arrogant people. They don't bother me at all, right? The people who attack me for silly reasons,
Mhm.
because of my wrinkles, my hair, my weight, my clothes, whatever. I love it. But uh, it's the ignorant, humble people, the ones that
Mhm.
admit they don't know what they don't know, that really can help us. And when
Mhm.
we become that every day, that's why, one of my taglines is be more interested than interesting.
Mhm.
I live in radical humility, and if I don't, I spend minutes and moments in arrogance. I will, just because it's very valuable. One of the nuances of what I've learned about ignorance, the most dangerous, ignorant, arrogant people in our lives are the people actually that love us the most. And this is a
Mhm.
new revelation for me. And the
Mhm.
reason is my mom loves me too much. That's a given. She would lie in front of a bus for me, and I'm not worth that. But she does love me that much. The interesting thing is, because she's so afraid for me, she has an ignorant arrogance. She
Mhm.
doesn't know what she doesn't know, but she's so afraid she's going to say, "Oh, the internet's a fad. You graduated law school, be a
Yeah.
real lawyer." Because she's
Mhm.
so afraid I'm not going to be financially secure and I'm wasting my
Yes.
education. So I want to point
Yes.
out to people as we're limiting ourselves that that limitation of the people who love us the most, that if we
Mhm.
identify that ignorant arrogance could really help us as well. Because a lot of times, our identities, uh, and this is where a lot of energy is wasted. People, between who you are and who you want people to think you are.
Mhm.
And if we love people, we want them to think of us in a much better way than we really are. And this distance that I'm showing you is the
Mhm.
biggest bleeder of energy and greatest resistance that will hold you back. And if you can identify some of that, it allows you
Mhm.
to get more out of your own way. Notating right, you will never overachieve your own self-image. So what's interfering with my self-image or my identity?
So let's talk about what gets in the way. So I love the answer of first I have to share something relevant. So when you were talking about how much your mom loves you, the author Glennon Doyle, I love when she says essentially the thing that can undermine our confidence most is the quiet concern of a loved one. And I thought she nailed it. That's exactly it. It's
Yeah,
the
I know.
touch on the shoulder. Are you sure? Is this the right move? This isn't what your degree is in. That's a lot of money. But what I wanted to do, I love when she said that. I was like, that is absolutely the case. So I want to go back to when you said if you could go back to this version of David, what would you say to him and ask for help? I want to touch on real quick because this just came up in the Pivot Me Academy I taught this morning. And I challenged people to ask for help in an area of their life. Now, it's a group of high performers. Humility and high performance don't always go hand in hand unless it's purposely embedded, right? Like we know this. And so by design, I was like, all right, there is an area. We don't get tens in all aspects of our life. Find someone you admire or find someone who's killing it with the relationship with their kids and their fitness and the new product line and revenue, whatever it is. And you've got to go have that ask for help conversation. Let's talk about why people don't do that. Why is it that either that version of David didn't ask for help? I mean, is it ego? Is it is it imposter syndrome? They'll know that I don't know everything. It's that we don't want to be wrong. Why do people not ask for help, David?
Well, could be a little bit of each of those things, but I think in general, at a higher level, um, people want to appreciate what they have. They want to add value to what they have. They
Mhm,
want to acknowledge what they have, which means acquire the knowledge of what they have, usually thinking the only way to do so is to give it
mhm,
away. See, the only way we acquire the knowledge of what we have is not to have it anymore. But by that definition, when you give it away, but also have it stolen, cheated from you, manipulated, or lose it, you're still going
mhm,
to get acknowledgement. You're still going to acquire knowledge. But the interesting thing is, most people have a difficulty making the leap to the third component, which
mhm,
is asking for help or asking for more. They see it as a zero sum game. So
mhm,
whether it's they're going to think I don't know, or whether I'm putting them above me because I'm asking for help, or whether it's I don't want to ask my mom for help because she doesn't have the money. It'll put her in a bad position. It's a zero sum game. What we need to understand is that we live in this world of more than enough, with a source of faith of everything for everyone, an omniscient, all powerful, infinite, unified system that has everything. And so when I ask someone for help, I am not only adding value to me, I'm actually adding value to the person who's helping me and anyone that's witnessing the experience as well. In fact, God gives an anatomical and biochemical reward called dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins every time you give, every time you receive, and those who witness it also receive it. So I call it the doggy biscuit of the universe, that, hey, maybe this is a really good thing to ask for help because I'm rewarded with a dose that makes me happy, and everyone in the situation and experience has done the same. So I think changing the paradigm from zero sum trade negotiation to a winner and a loser when we ask for help, to simply everybody wins and gets a reward from the universe,
mhm,
really shifts the energy and perspective. And I call it the participation in the perception that giving and receiving aren't the same, and that
mhm.
there are winners and losers in a zero sum game instead of a value add world.
I love it. And I love that you said everyone around you benefits from it too, because we are acknowledged for our accomplishments and our successes, which is fantastic. But there is someone who needs to see that we don't have all the answers. And not only will they benefit from hearing in the way that we were helped, they will also benefit in the humility in which they witnessed. Because everybody in the room has some massive insecurity too about, well, I'm not really, I never look at my P&L. I don't know if I'm going to make payroll next month. I haven't talked to my wife in 2 months. Like everybody's got something, and all of us are kind of trying to, show our highlight reel and keep the backstory behind us. But when they see you ask for help, you raise your hand, it also gives them permission to do the same, to acknowledge the thing that maybe they're struggling with or the area they need to ask for help. And so I love when you said, so everyone in the room benefits from you asking for help. And of course, you get neurotransmitters released, and everybody feels good when that happens.
Yeah, vulnerability is the same thing as well. When I was young and a multimillionaire, if you would have told me I had to tell anyone in the world that I went bankrupt, I would have
Mm,
rather died. And today, I remember when I worked with a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, and I started doing videos 6.5 years ago, and he helped me. And he's like, "Tell me the one thing you're most embarrassed about." And I said, "My bankruptcy." And he said, "Well, do a video about bankruptcy." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not going to tell people I'm bankrupt, G. Like, there's no way. That's who's going to think
mhm,
I'm credible in the financial world. I'm supposed to be
So
this
good.
great executive business coach. I'm supposed to be the guy, man. I'm worth over $100 million again. Like I'm going to tell people I was an idiot and, I partied too hard and I surrounded myself with the wrong people, the wrong ideas, and I lost everything, almost
Hmm.
my life and my wife. Not a chance. He goes, yeah, it's not going to work for you then. I said, what do you mean? He said, because you're trying to be something that you want people to think you are. What they really want is to know, hey, this guy that's super successful is an F up. That's what they
Yeah.
want to know, Dave. And
He
so I
stumbled
did
too.
fit it. Yeah. And guess what I am most loved for? The screw ups in my life. And the fact that I've been able to overcome those and live this extraordinary life and still admit that I screw up all the time. That
Yes.
vulnerability is just as important as well. And it's the truth that vibrates the fastest.
Hmm.
And I tell people all the time, people just want to hear your truth because believe it or not, there's a whole bunch of people that are living your truth and you're going to make them feel good about where they're at, not create some false illusion that you have some perfect journey without any
Hmm.
pain indicating lessons that you've learned.
I think it was John Maxwell that said, I'm going to paraphrase, but if you want to be admired, talk about your successes. But if you want to make an impact, talk about your failures. I think I'm paraphrasing the last part, but
Yep,
that's the
you got
gist
it
of it.
there.
And it's so important because I think a lot, and I think that's a mistake a lot of people are making right now, especially with social media, is it's my successes, my successes, my successes. And you can get accolades for those successes, but what you don't get is true impact because you can be acknowledged as this meta human, amazing being, but ultimately that's not what really creates impact. And if you, and for pivoters, people who listen to this podcast are focused on impact. And so wherever we're at, there is someone right behind us or right next to us that's going, wow, they need to see that it's okay to stumble. They need to see that success is available even for someone like them that maybe had a bad childhood or maybe went through bankruptcy or divorce or regardless of our kind of narrative of limitations that we all have our reason why we think maybe it's not available to someone like us. It's only when we're vulnerable that we show people, oh wait, there is a chance. And I love that you share it. I'll reiterate that the average self-made millionaire loses their wealth at least twice. So, David, if you've only lost it once, you're actually doing great.
Cancel. Exactly. Cancel. Not a twice time for me. No, it's not
I
gonna happen.
I learned
I,
quick.
we,
Took once.
I know I'm exactly. I don't want that one twice, but I know we have to finish, but I gotta tell this quick story because just even recently, you know, people I work out or I put as a non-negotiable in my life, number one, a minimum of an hour a day on my health. I have a minimum amount of time with my family, minimum time on finance or activity I get paid for. Someone had commented, hey, if you spend a minimum of an hour a day on your health, you should be in a lot better shape. And I said, well, actually,
I love the
I'm
internet.
healthy, right? I love it. I said, actually, round is a shape, but more importantly, for a 55-year-old man, I'm in good shape. But yes, I could be in better shape. It's my nutrition that's my biggest challenge. Although I'm one of the most disciplined, consistent people that I know, that I'm having difficulty, and I've been searching my fears of the past to see
Mhm.
why. I have a difficult time because I eat quickly. I run hard. I'm a ferocious Buddha. I'm ferocious during the day, Buddha to my outcomes. I allow my outcomes to come, but very
Mhm.
few people are as ferocious in the day. And I said, and I have difficulty slowing down when I eat. And I also grew up poor. A good night, a great night out. And for me, when we have 6 kids, was my mom would buy 2 large French fries and pull them into a bowl for 5 boys and 1 girl to eat. You can
Mhm.
imagine what that train me energetically and genetically how I eat. And I had and realized that I'm not in as good a shape as I could in because of my nutrition and diet. And the reason is I need to deal with and be vulnerable to people and say, I have a problem. I'm scarce with food.
Mhm.
I when I'm running fast, I think to myself, there's not enough because we were on food stamps because there wasn't enough sometimes. I never missed a meal, but it was embarrassing and challenging where I could eat. And even though I get to eat in the finest restaurants around the world, I still have that 7-year-old little boy sometimes sitting in front of food. And that's not a healthy way to do it. And it's a good example because people need to hear the truth. And I'm sure someone out there grew up like I did and maybe has
Oh, yeah.
scarcity and energy, food insecurity, even though they're wealthy, they can buy whatever food they want. And it's not the type of food, it's the energy around it. So I wanted to share that as we part on this conversation. I'm sure I have so many different shows, April, I want you to be on with
I
your
should.
community.
Let's do it.
Oh, sorry for I also want to offer your community. I love to
Yep.
offer, I'm on a mission to empower over 1 billion people. I would love to sign my book. I will pay for my book and shipping of my book if people email me. Everyone in your
Yes.
community, let me know you come from
Hmm.
this community, the Pivot Me community, and
Hmm.
I will uh please allow me to send my book signed. I'll pay for shipping in the book. It's
Amazing.
not a, hey, here's a free book but $10 shipping. It's not that deal. Everything I'll pay for. Just email me. You'll put it in the notes, david
It's
at
amazing.
dmeltzer.com.
We'll put it in the show notes as well, team. That is an incredibly generous offer, David. I so appreciate that. I know we've got to wrap up. I just like one final question. David, what's next for
Yes.
you? What you've got this long list of amazing things that you've done. I know you're on a mission. What is next for you?
So I take everything day by day. So what's next for me is to look at tomorrow morning, knowing what I want personally, experientially, giving and receiving wise, in the trajectory of what I think I want on my mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun by learning lessons, finding the light, the love, and lessons, giving meaning to my past that other
Mhm.
people can utilize as well. Let me pay your dummy tax. Let's all align these lessons with the trajectory of where I think I want to be or better tomorrow. That's my future. And my future is being ferocious tomorrow about where I think I want to be or better, and allowing it to come to me by clearing the interference that I create of what already exists. Remember, it's not just the calling, it's surrounding yourself with people that say amen to your calling, not oh no. That's why I love
Ooh.
that quiet assumption. Surround yourself with people who say
Mhm.
amen to your dreams, not or blessings, not oh no.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, just because there are people in your life that they do have that quiet concern, or maybe the not so quiet concern, we've all had those. That's okay. That doesn't mean we don't love them. That doesn't mean that they aren't a
Yes.
part of their life. But what I really encourage you to do is just feather in other people that are saying amen, that are saying, let's go, let's do this thing. And it kind of begins to sort of quiet the noise of maybe some other people that are a little fearful of what you're doing. David, I love your message and I appreciate the way that you showed up today and your honesty and your humility and the insight that you provided. I know that there are pivoters right now that have listened to it. Both a story of success, your comeback story, well, remarkable, what you've done in that time, but still being so approachable and saying, hey, here's the thing that the internet trolls get me for. You are making it okay for someone to still step into the spotlight, even though we've all got a backstory, whether that's a bankruptcy, whether that's again, there's so many reasons why we craft narratives around why it's not available to someone like us. And I just appreciate you sharing your story because I know it is inspiring. Thank you so much.
I hope you got some amazing information from our interview today, and I've set up the next video for you. So I'll see you over there at the next video.